Ultimately, Norton was sentenced to 6 years in prison with 9 years of probation. Torres received 13 years in prison and 7 years of probation. Additionally, they were both banished from Douglas County. While Kayla Norton and Jose Torres got lengthy prison sentences for their racist actions, how does it compare to hailing Hitler in court? Like in the case of 73-year-old Frasier Cross, a white supremacist accused of murdering 3 people in Kansas.
I thought they were Jews. I wouldn't have shot them otherwise.
According to reports, on April 13, 2014, Cross fatally shot 69-year-old William Corcoran and his 14-year-old grandson Reet Underwood at the Jewish Community Center in Overland Park.
Police say on Sunday, April 13th, Cross went to the Jewish Community Center and opened fire in the parking lot. 69-year-old William Corcoran was there with his grandson Reet. Both were killed.
A few blocks away, a former member of the Ku Klux Klan gunned down 53-year-old Terry Lamano outside the Village Shalom Retirement Center.
A few blocks away, Terry Lamano was gunned down outside the Village Shalom Retirement Center.
Police showed up quickly and took Cross into custody. One of the officers caught the whole thing on his body cam.
One of them captured this dash cam video. Take a look. It shows Frasier Cross being arrested by Overland Park police. You can see he's surrounded by several officers.
They said Cross asked for a celebratory whiskey after the shootings. He was even heard screaming Nazi slogans out of the back of the police car. Cross fired his lawyers and represented himself in court. This led to a trial full of disruptions and outbursts.
Get more for your business with Microsoft 365.
See, I'm gonna represent
Stay
myself.
Connected to customers and securely share files with them.
I spent 20 years in the Army, 2 tours in Vietnam.
Let me tell you, Mr. Miller. Stop.
I earned the right of speech.
Stop.
Freedom of speech.
Stop.
At his pretrial hearing, Cross exploded at the judge before being thrown out of the courtroom.
So you got for the Jews sitting in their own judgment. You are
We'll take a break.
At his trial, the prosecution claimed Cross was a proud and remorseless killer.
To decide the fate of a man whom the evidence shows to be a proud and remorseless killer who regrets only that he did not kill more people.
He also argued that Cross was a known racist, as some of his interviews back in 2006 suggested.
The only thing I ain't figured out is whether to hate all you Jews or just the Zionists.
And when the prosecution questioned him about his motives, Cross lost his cool again.
So really this is about you being infamous is why you did it.
Nah. Are you kidding? Are you kidding me?
He was adamant that his crimes were racially motivated.
Do you recall saying that the Jews will remember my name?
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed.
Cross argued that his intent was not criminal, but patriotic.
The state must prove my criminal intent. I submit that I had no criminal intent. I had a patriotic intent to stop the genocide against my people.
Let's go.
He believed his victims
justified
were Jews.
his murder.
Instead, they turned out to be Christians.
I do apologize for those who died. And I thought they were Jews. I wouldn't have shot them otherwise.
Throughout his trial, Cross showed a lack of remorse, saying he felt free after the killings.
For the first time in 48 years, I felt free. It was such a glorious feeling I can't even describe it adequately.
Then, shockingly, Cross said that God knew the shootings were right and moral.
If there is a God up there, God, you know that what I did and what's in my heart is righteous, is honorable, is moral, and therefore, God, you will reward me.
But it was when the judge denied him permission to enter certain website articles as evidence, Cross erupted.
I'll just get the hell out of here, go back to my cell, and wait for phase 2 if you're not going to give me a fair trial. You won't even answer a simple question. What the hell am I with you?
Miller.
The judge gave him a warning, but Cross was having none of it.
This is your warning, sir. If you're going to proceed in this manner, you will be removed from the court.
In what manner? Be specific. What the hell is he talking about?
He also had some choice words for the jury before they gave their verdict.
I fear you'll take the easy way out and say,
well, these white dudes been doing this in court before. When the black dudes do it, oh my God, yeah, Atlanta's going crazy.
Judge, I'm going to object.
That's a threat. John, I've only got to have a paragraph left.
Can I proceed?
You will dread looking your children and grandchildren in their eyes.
Judge, objection again. That is a veiled threat.
Unsurprisingly, they found Cross guilty of capital murder, but he remained defiant.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of capital murder as charged in count 1.
I think that lady just saying.
Ultimately, Cross was sentenced to death by lethal injection.
Just the fat lady, just saying. See, keep the fat lady away from me.
However, one day my spirit will rise from my grave, and you all know that I was right. How Hitler.
He later died in 2021 while on death row at the age of 80. While Frasier Cross's anti-Semitic rants were truly shocking, how does it compare to running over a black teenager in a hate-filled crime? Like in the case of Russell Courtier, who's on trial for a hit-and-run incident in Oregon. As per reports, Courtier got in a fight with 19-year-old Larnell Bruce outside a 7-Eleven in Portland. After his head was smashed into a glass window, Bruce attempted to flee, but an enraged Courtier followed Bruce in a red Jeep, allegedly being egged on by his girlfriend Colleen Hunt to run the black teen over.
See? Run his stupid ass over. Yeah.
CCTV footage caught Courtier missing Bruce by a whisker in his first attempt.
Fuck out of here.
But as soon as Bruce crossed the road, Courtier accelerated straight towards him.
Got him. See? She's shorty in the whip too, ain't she?
And hit him as he tried to escape towards the sidewalk.
Bro, I'm not getting hit by
Bruce
a car
was severely injured. He died a few days later at the hospital. Both Courtier and his girlfriend Colleen were charged with murder. Shortly after the trial began, Colleen pleaded guilty to a lesser charge of manslaughter and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Prosecutors argued that race was a motivating factor in the attack, since Courtier was previously a member of the white supremacist group European Kindred.
It was a
I see that
racially
fucking
motivated crime.
You know that car can't do too much. I'm over there. I'm over here. That car ain't
They also
hitting
said
me.
that this was a cold-blooded murder.
When he chased Mr. Bruce,
He was running diagonal.
he had one intent.
All you gotta do is cut a corner.
Mr. Bruce.
The jury, too, saw it that way, eventually convicting Courtier of hit-and-run driving and murder.
This fucking person need to be.
He was additionally found guilty of the hate crime of second-degree intimidation.
Are you a Roblox fanatic? Microsoft Rewards has a brand new way for you to earn digital
ads on death.
At his sentencing, Bruce's father addressed his son's killer.
You didn't just ruin my life, but you ruined your own. You have a son, and now he has to live the rest of his life without his father. And hopefully he doesn't make and think the same way that you do. This world it doesn't belong to any of us. We're just here visiting, and everyone has a right to be here.
Ultimately, Courtier was sentenced to life in prison, with a minimum of 28 years served before being eligible for parole. While Russell Courtier will spend a significant part of his life in prison for his rage-fueled racial attack, how does it compare to threatening a kid with racial slurs? Like the case of Michael Amatullo, who's facing hate crime charges in Oregon. As
Amatullo
per
was crying when he got
60-year-old
arrested.
Amatullo allegedly hurled racial slurs at a 7-year-old African-American child in their apartment complex in Portland. When the child's 14-year-old brother came to his defense, Amatullo racially abused him too.
The boy's 14-year-old brother came out to defend him, at which point Amatullo allegedly threatened to beat them.
Then he went inside his kitchen and brought a butcher knife, allegedly threatening the kids with it.
He then went back inside and returned with a butcher knife, according to reports. Police say Amatullo pointed the knife at the boys from about 6 or 7 feet away.
This prompted them to run and hide under a nearby stairwell, where the teen called the authorities. Amatullo was arrested and charged with misdemeanor menacing, second-degree intimidation, and unlawful use of a weapon. In court, the innocent 7-year-old child testified that Amatullo's threats about killing his mother had saddened him.
Amatullo need to go under the jail.
I was kind of sad because my mom was pregnant, and it was a girl and that was my first sister, and when he said I hope my mom died, I didn't like it.
Then it was Judge Christopher Rambo's turn to school Amatullo.
Let my son.
He spoke today. He
Bro,
didn't say anything about
whoever
the
up there
N-word.
ain't
He
gonna
just
be
talked
up
about
there.
sort of how things made him feel sad because he's a child. He doesn't process things in the same way that we do. That's what leads to the credibility of what he had to say. And the normal reaction, if a 7-year-old is
process things truthfully,
is to smile at them, is to maybe talk to them. It's not to say, what the F are you looking at? And then to call them the N-word. When you're talking about someone, it never came out of trial, but I'm assuming he was in first grade, maybe kindergarten.
He said the incident could leave a lasting impression on the two children.
I have to imagine that most African Americans can remember the first time that somebody used the N-word in anger against them. They may not, depending on their age, might not have fully understood its significance at that point in time, but as they grow older and have more experiences, I have to think that's something that resonates.
Ultimately, Amatullo was found guilty of all charges and sentenced to 3 years in prison.
Portland man was sentenced to 3 years for a bias crime against 2 black brothers. He will spend 2 years in prison and 1 in jail.
While Michael Amatullo paid a heavy price for his racist demeanor, what happens when you kill someone for going against your beliefs? Like in the case of Devon Arthurs, who's facing murder charges in Florida. 18-year-old Arthurs, along with his 4 roommates, were part of a neo-Nazi group called the Atomwaffen Division. However, things changed drastically when Arthurs converted to Islam, a stark departure from his neo-Nazi roots. His newfound faith created tension within the group, who often teased him for his new beliefs. When things reached a boiling point on May 19th, 2017, Arthurs fatally shot 2 of his roommates, 22-year-old Jeremy Himmelman and 18-year-old Andrew Onischuk at their apartment in Tampa.
He claims he shot 2 of his roommates because they ridiculed him for converting to Islam.
When police arrived at the scene, they discovered a chilling cache of evidence. They found explosive materials, weapons, and other bomb-making substances. Arthurs was arrested and interrogated, where he told police about the sinister plans of his roommates.
Yeah, nothing's been constructed yet, but this is clearly stuff that is lined up for the explosives there. That's the purpose of those items? Yeah, absolutely. So that's the entire purpose of it. You guys don't build model rockets and go out in the back and shoot them off into the, or fireworks for 4th of July coming up there. Nothing like that. None of that. It's all literally there specifically to kill people.
Arthur said he acted out of a belief that his roommates' planned bombings would lead to the Fourth Reich.
What was their purpose for doing that?
Because they want to build the Fourth Reich. They're delusional.
Okay.
He also spoke about his mental health issues.
I'm very prone to getting angry a lot. I'm very to the point where I think that I might be kind of sick in that sense. And I want to get help for that.
It seems Arthur's mental health worsened in prison, because what he did in his court appearance shocked everyone, as they saw Arthur seemingly choking himself to the point of unconsciousness.
Devon Arthurs' appearance in court was anything but ordinary. Everyone in the courtroom, including the judge, got a first-hand look at Arthurs appearing to choke himself to the point of unconsciousness. It's the type of involuntary reflex.
A doctor who evaluated Arthurs took the stand to explain his odd behavior.
He squeezes and lets his head fall into his hands to compress his blood vessels until he begins to lose consciousness.
The case seemed to be heading towards a mistrial. However, on May 8th, 2023, Arthur surprised everyone by accepting a plea deal.
How do you wish to plead to these 5 charges?
I plead guilty.
Arthur said he was a changed man and wanted to help the world fight extremism.
I feel that I can be an advocate against extremism, and I'd like to take this moment to tell the world to stay away from extremist groups and tell that I want to try to dedicate my life to getting people away from militant movements and stuff like that.
Ultimately, Arthurs was convicted of 2 reduced charges of second-degree murder and sentenced to 45 years in prison.
I will adjudicate him guilty. I will sentence him to 45 years in Florida State Prison with a 25-year minimum mandatory on counts 1 and 2.
While Devon Arthurs' bizarre case ended with him getting a hefty prison sentence, how does it compare to targeting and murdering a couple? Like in the case of neo-Nazi couple Jeremy Moody and his wife Christine Moody, who are facing murder charges in South Carolina.
I have no regrets. Killing that pedophile was the best day of my life.
Some crazy sounds in here. Woo. Welcome to our...
Do you have anything to say to the victim's family?
May they die also.
Reports suggest the Moodys targeted and killed registered sex offender Marvin Parker and his wife Gretchen Parker after getting their address from the registry. CCTV footage showed the Moodys kidnapping the Parkers at gunpoint, where they later shot and stabbed them. Police were able to identify Jeremy from his white supremacist tattoos in the footage. When questioned, the killer couple didn't deny their guilt. In fact, they not only confessed, but also told authorities they had planned to kill more sex offenders. The Moodys pleaded guilty to murder, kidnapping, and burglary, and appeared in court all smiles, ready to ask the judge for mercy, as well as the minimum sentence of 30 years in prison.
Your Honor, not a day goes by that I don't regret what's happened. And I know that what I've done is a sin, and I believe that God has forgiven me of it. Please have mercy on Christine and I so we can still have a chance to grow old together as husband and wife. Thank you.
Then it was Christine's chance to plead for forgiveness.
The Bible clearly states thou shalt not kill. I'm sorry I broke that commandment, but I truly believe God has forgiven Jeremy and I hope you will too. Your Honor, please see it fit that Jeremy and I are sentenced to the same sentence of 30 years. Never kissing my husband or feeling his touch again is my very worst nightmare. Please give us the light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you.
While the Moodys initially were remorseful for their actions, they showed their true colors once the judge handed down the sentence.
Brutally killed these two people. They had nothing, no way to defend themselves or anything else. And I tell you that I believe that if these two were to get out of jail, I would be concerned that they would do exactly the same thing again. I don't have any question. I think it's a case that justice demands a life sentence.
This is how they responded. Outside the courtroom, the Moodys continued to express their true feelings.
Child molesters do not deserve to live. They got exactly what they deserve. Had to do it over again, I'd kill more.
I think Jeremy and I would have done it again if given the opportunity.
Do you have any regrets?
I have no regrets. Killing that pedophile was the best day of my life.
Do you have anything to say to the victim's family?
May they die also.
Ultimately, they received consecutive life sentences with no chance of parole. While Jeremy and Christine Moody's remorseless killings shocked the community, how does it compare to terrorizing a whole nation? Like in the case of Anders Breivik, who's on trial for mass murder and terrorism in Norway. On July 22nd, 2011, 32-year-old Breivik parked a white van full of explosives outside the Prime Minister's office in Oslo. He was then seen walking away from the area, dressed in a police uniform.
That's how
What
you do
followed
it.
next rocked the entire nation of Norway. A huge explosion ripped through the area, damaging buildings and businesses nearby.
Smack.
The blast left a scene of utter chaos, with death and destruction everywhere.
3:26 p.m., a massive car bomb shatters downtown Oslo. The target, the Prime Minister's office. The streets turn into makeshift triage areas. But this horror is only beginning.
8 people died in the explosion, while another 209 were injured. But this was only a small part of Breivik's sinister plans. While the authorities were confused and distracted by the blast, Breivik drove out of town all the way to the island of Utøya, where a youth summer camp was being organized.
Breivik was driving out of town when his bomb exploded.
There, dressed as a police officer with a false ID, Breivik opened fire, methodically killing 69 and injuring more than 30 people. There was chaos all over the island, with people seen swimming into the freezing water, trying to escape the rampage. The horror lasted for more than an hour before Breivik made a chilling call to the authorities.
into the courtroom.
God dag, mitt navn Anders Breivik. Kommandør I den norske motstandsbevegelsen.
Ja, hei.
Kan du sette meg over til operasjonsleder for Delta?
Breivik said his mission was complete and offered to surrender.
Jeg på Utøya.
Du på Utøya, ja.
Jeg har fullført operasjonen min, så jeg ønsker å overgi meg.
Du ønsker å overgi deg, ja.
Ja, jeg har nettopp utført en operasjon på vegne av Knights Templar, Europa og Norge.
Delta Police Task Force soon surrounded the island and arrested an eerily calm and composed Breivik. In total, 77 people lost their lives that day, while hundreds were injured, making it the deadliest attack in Norway since World War II. A few days before the shooting, Breivik had posted online a 1,500-page manifesto with chilling details and meticulous plans for his attacks. Breivik was charged with mass murder, causing a fatal explosion, and terrorism. Before his trial began, Breivik was taken back to Utøya, shackled and tethered to reenact the shootings. At his trial, Breivik, who was publicly against multiculturalism, refused to recognize the authority of the court and the judge.
Jeg anerkjenner ikke norsk rett, fordi at dere har fått mandatet deres fra politiske partier som støtter multikulturalisme. Og I tillegg så det kjent at du en personlig venninne av Hanne Harlem, søsteren til Gro Harlem Brundtland.
Han befant seg I andre etasje I R4 på et kontor mot Grubbegata og ble påført blant annet alvorlige hodeskader med blødning mellom hjernen og den ytre hjernehinnen, store skader I buken med omfattende indre blødning samt brudd I nakken.
Breivik pleaded not guilty and bizarrely claimed that his actions were taken in self-defense.
Jeg erkjenner handlingene, men ikke straffskyld, og jeg påberoper meg nødrett.
The main focus of the trial was to determine Breivik's criminal responsibility and whether he would be sentenced to prison or committed to psychiatric care. Ultimately, Breivik was found sane and sentenced to 21 years of preventive detention, which is the maximum sentence allowed under Norwegian law, with the possibility of extension if he's still considered a danger to society.
This is a unanimous judgment, and it has the following conclusion. All seen in conjunction with Section 62 of the Penal Code to preventive detention pursuant to the Penal Code Section 39C number 1 for a term of 21 years and a minimum period of 10 years.
Breivik has since been denied parole.